Hello. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am Becca Jo, aka the Makeup Tax Lady. I come to you with some crazy, beautiful colors on my face because today we are creating this lovely eyeshadow palette and swatching all of the shades from, if you haven't guessed it yet, the Flower Moon palette by Ensley Reign Cosmetics. I had started off this video with intention of taking it in a different direction, and then remembered that this is really one of the ways that I wanted to demonstrate the versatility of this palette. I know that Ensley Reign has been a hot topic lately and there's been some controversy around the brand. This video is intended to just focus on this palette and my experience with this palette. I understand there are lots of emotions surrounding the topics and I completely respect that. I just wanted my video to be focused on the product itself. There are lots of videos that talk through some of that controversy, so if that's what you're looking for, no offense taken if you drop out of this video to go find one of those. So if you want to get into the Flower Moon palette, doing a pretty look and then some crazy swatches, please stick around. So I typically as in 99% of the time, do my base makeup first, but because the exciting part of this video is about the eyeshadow palette, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the palette and then I'll do my base. So to start, I'm gonna start with my Sephora eye primer. This is just what I have on hand. Slap some of this on the eyes. I love this blue color, this blue fleece, and I want to play off of that. So when you look in the palette, you know, we've got mostly greens and then we've got a lot of pinks up over here in the palette, but we have a couple shades here. I am changing course. I forgot, but I had wanted to swatch all of the beautiful shimmer multi-duochrome shades in this palette on my face. Like, they're absolutely beautiful. There have been so many beautiful videos done about this palette. I wanted to do them swatching them on my face so you see kind of the shifts and the curvature as they glide over the skin, if you will. Okay, now I'm excited. I wasn't even thinking about that. To go with the beautiful blue or blue flipping shades in this palette, all of the mattes in here, I keep closing it, all of the mattes in here are, you know, we've got a green, two orange peachy tones, a pink, a couple more greens, and then this beautiful gray tone shade here on the end. I want to pull in some blue mattes. So to do that, the two palettes that I grabbed, I have my Glaminatrix Nocturnal palette. This shade Nightfall is like the exact same color as my jacket. And I also have my Sydney Grace Tropicolor palette. This was in collaboration with the Fancy Face. These blues are definitely more blue and not as teal, but I may dip into these and maybe even just the navy blue. I'm going to run through this real quick. I'm gonna speed it up, but I'll show you which shades I'm using as I go. Okay, I'm happy with that. I will go in and tweak like the edge of the blend before we're done, but for now, I'm gonna grab my Divina Cosmetics Specular Sparkle and Shimmer Glue Base, and I'm gonna put this on one eye and not the other so that we can just kind of see a comparison of how the glitter glue impacts the shimmer shades in the Flower Moon palette. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with April Showers and put that on the lid on both eyes just using my finger. Oh my goodness, that shade is gorgeous. If you know me, you know that I'm typically not one to reach for blue eyeshadow shades. I've become more and more intrigued by them. I don't know if I'll ever be an all-out blue eyeshadow girl, but I'm enjoying them more than I probably ever have. I do think, you guys can tell me if you agree in the comments, but I do think that the glitter glue base did help to, making sure I don't have any more shimmer on this finger. I do think that the glitter glue base has helped a little bit of pop and a little bit of shine on this eye compared to this eye. I still think it looks absolutely beautiful on this eye. Just for reference, I'm sitting in front of a window and I have the fading evening light coming in through the window, and I have a ring light on as well. I'll probably change it up and down here as we get the swatches going on my face, just to do a little contrasting comparison, just to see how the different lighting can impact the sparkle and the shift on the shades. Okay, I am going to clean up under my eyes. I may end up putting a little foundation on, I haven't decided, and I will come back so that we can swatch these beautiful shimmers on my face. Okay, so here is the finished look. I have not put on any kind of bronzer or blush. I did put on some concealer, which is the number 7 Hydroluminous Concealer that I'm loving right now. I put on some foundation. This is the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydro Rescue. This foundation is beautiful on the skin, but it has a scent, and related to the scent or not, it unfortunately kind of irritates my skin. So I like to wear it on like this evening when I know that after this video I'm gonna go wash it off. But it's a bummer because it's absolutely beautiful on the skin. On top of that, I went ahead and set my whole face with my Sydney Grace, I cannot remember the name of this, Cloud 9 powder in Fair. Hopefully you'll be able to see, I'm getting some good use out of this baby. Love it. So that's where we're at. I also put on my Uma Beauty Uma Beauty Brow Gel in the shade 01. And I finished up my lower lash line with the 2 matte shades from the Sydney Grace palette that I dipped into for the top. And then I've got my Sochi mascara on. And last but not least, I threw on some Sydney Grace lip cream in the shade Charissa. And although I am entirely missing any blush or bronzer, but especially blush, which I'm a fan of blush, let's go ahead and get into swatching these shades on the face. So like I said, we'll start out swatching them with the lighting that I've got right now, and then we will tinker with turning the light down and turning the light up so that hopefully we can capture that much more of the beauty in these shades. Okay, so the plan is I'm going to swatch 7 shades on this side, 7 shades on this side, and then I'll do the 7 mattes across my forehead because Those are less exciting, but they're still very pretty. So let's get to swatching. I'm gonna start with this top row and put them across my cheek this way. So we're gonna start here on the top left corner of the palette. So I will grab Bloom, Pink Moon, and Freesia and add those to this side. Again, we have Bloom, Pink Moon, and Freesia. Next, I'm gonna grab Flower Moon, Persephone, Dahlia, and April Showers. Here are those shades on my fingers. Again, we have Flower Moon, Persephone, Dahlia, and April Showers. I think if I were a warrior, makeup eyeshadow like this swatched on my face would be my war paint. Okay, jumping into the next row, I'm gonna grab Refresh, Primrose, and Bliss and swatch those on this side of my face. So again, we have Refresh, Primrose, and Bliss. Okay, the last grouping for these beautiful shimmer shades, we've got Forsythia, Awakening, Sapling, and Sprout. Here on my fingers we have Forsythia, Awakening, Sapling, and Sprout. And I did not judge the distance of these shades as well on this side as I did on this side, so the 7th one's up here on my cheek. Okay, now we're gonna slap the mattes on my forehead. We've got Lush, Rejuvenate, Peony, Mayflowers, oh, moving off screen, sorry, Meadow, Budding, and Renew. Okay, I swatched these in a weird order. We have Lush, Rejuvenate, Peony, Mayflowers on my pinky, Meadow, Budding, and Renew. Any sparkle you may see in those mattes is not a sparkle in the mattes themselves. It was, I didn't take all the previous sparkle off my fingers all that well. So here we have all of the beautiful shades of the Ensley Reign Flower Moon palette swatched on my face. Hopefully we're getting some pretty shifts and some pretty sparkles in with the movement of my head. Okay, now I'm gonna drop the light down as low as it can go. Hopefully we can see some differences there. Okay, so let me know if that was helpful or if you have any other types of ways of changing the light that you think would be helpful new to this. I must say, my experience with this palette, I have been blown away. I mean, absolutely blown away by the quality in here. The majority of these shades are smooth and they feel like velvet on my finger and on my eye. We have more pigmented shades. We have some that are a more sheer, shifty shade. These shades down here especially, I would say, and then these shades in here definitely. If I had to pick my favorite eyeshadow shades, it would be greens, pinks, and purples, and this palette delivers on that. The formula between the shimmers and the mattes are absolutely beautiful. I picked up this palette when they were having, I think it was a Black Friday sale or sometime around the holidays this last year, and I picked it up on pre-order, but I got the discount because of the sale that they were having. I personally pretty much all the time try to avoid pre-orders. I don't like to wait any longer than I have to for something that I've paid for, but I was willing to do it with this one to try out the brand. I know they've been all over the place, especially in the last 6 months. I think their palette creations and their color stories have been absolutely beautiful. This is one that it came out, I think, about a year ago, and I wasn't into it at the time, or I didn't know enough about it, and it is on the pricier side for a palette. So when the opportunity came to pick it up at a little bit of a discount, I was very excited to jump on and give it a try, and I must say, I am so glad that I did. I realized that these shades, these palettes, this brand may not be for everyone, and that's totally okay. I completely respect that. But for me and for my makeup preferences, this is so good. I also bought it knowing that the matte shades are limited, but that makes me think a little bit outside the box, and when I'm trying to create a look. I know that I have lots of other beautiful mattes in my collection, and I specifically was considering the Melt Cosmetics 420 palette, that would complement a lot of these shades really well. And I have enjoyed using that palette and other palettes. Like today, I used both of these palettes, some of the matte, to complement this color story. I knew I was getting this palette on a discount, so I wasn't upset that maybe it wasn't a complete palette in and of itself for me. I have a few all shimmer or all special shade palettes, not many, but I have a few, and I enjoy them as long as I approach the palette knowing that I'm gonna be reaching into another palette to complement and complete the look. I'm okay with that. I know that the brand has also just announced a new palette coming out, and that palette is so beautiful, and I am very much hoping that I'm able to snag it when it's released. I don't believe, at least as I'm filming this, I don't believe any release dates have been announced yet, but my goodness, I understand the hype of this brand. Okay, so I am blabbering on here. I'm sure I've cut some of that out, but I'm a big fan of this palette. If you have tried the brand, I would be curious to hear your thoughts as well. Have you been as blown away by the formula and the quality of the palette as I have? I mean, look at the way that these shades just continue on for miles. The Flower Moon palette is the spring palette in the Moon palette series, and I think that's part of why the tones in it are some of my favorite. Will I be picking up any of the other Moon series palettes? I'm undecided. I'm leaving the opportunity open, but I look at the other 3 Flower Moon palettes, and I think Cold Moon, which is the most recent of the Moon palette releases, would be second on my list. And then between Harvest Moon and Strawberry Moon, they're both beautiful. They're definitely beautiful palettes, and if I had them, I have no doubt I would love them. But am I going to pick them up? I'm not sure. I do plan to pick up, hopefully, I do plan to pick up the new, is it Groovy Garden palette. I also have had my eye on the, oh no, I can't think of it, the Enchanted palette. I'll pop a picture up of that one. So if you have any of those palettes, I know they've had a couple previous palettes and a few other palettes thrown in there too. So if you've tried any of those and you have any specific recommendations or avoidance recommendations, please let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's video. Hopefully seeing the swatches on my face have been fun for you. Hopefully you found it inspiring to play with the makeup that you have in your collection and to try different things with them, try new ways to get you excited about them. Because that's what we love about eyeshadow, right? Is getting excited about it. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's video, and I'll see you next time.